The future tense can become a beautiful hiding place. It sounds hopeful. It sounds responsible. It sounds as though you are preparing to change. You tell yourself, I will trust myself more. I will stop shrinking. I will make calmer choices. I will become the kind of person who can hold more without fear. The words are sincere, yet they place the new life one step beyond your reach. Tomorrow becomes the room where confidence lives, while today remains the hallway where you wait. The mind listens closely to grammar. When you say, I will, part of you hears, not yet. When you say, one day, part of you hears, not now. When you say, after everything settles, part of you learns that peace must remain postponed until life becomes perfectly arranged. This is not a reason to judge the way you have spoken to yourself. You were trying to create hope with the language you had. You were reaching toward a stronger inner life. There is tenderness in that effort. There is courage in every sentence that tried to pull you forward, even when it kept the change at a distance. Present tense words do something different. They do not demand that you pretend to have mastered what you are still learning. They do not require a performance of certainty. They bring the practice close enough to touch. I am learning to trust my decisions. I am treating myself with greater respect. I am becoming steadier with each honest choice. These sentences do not claim that the journey is finished. They place your feet inside it. That difference matters. A promise about the future can inspire you for a moment. A sentence rooted in the present can begin shaping what you look for, what you tolerate, what you attempt, and how you recover after doubt appears. It can become a quiet reference point, not a spell, not a guarantee, a reference point. You return to it when an old reaction reads. You return to it when you feel tempted to dismiss your progress. You return to it when your own voice becomes harsher than the situation requires. You return to it until the sentence no longer feels borrowed. This is how self-trust often grows. Not through one dramatic declaration, but through repeated moments in which your inner language and your daily actions begin to agree. The hand can help with that agreement. A thought passes quickly. It can be interrupted, revised, denied, or drowned out by the next demand. A sentence placed on paper asks you to remain with it. Your eyes see it. Your hand forms it. Your attention stays long enough to meet what the words awaken. You may feel comfort. You may feel resistance. You may feel a small ache because the sentence names a way of living you have wanted for a long time. None of those responses means you are doing it incorrectly. The response is information. It shows you where the old story still has weight. Sometimes the old story appears before the pen reaches the page. You choose a clean sheet, then suddenly decide that you should answer one more message first. You find the notebook, then tell yourself this kind of practice is too simple to matter. You form a sentence about worthiness, and another voice says you have more urgent things to do. You try to name a calmer relationship with money, and your body tightens as though calm itself might make you careless. This is not laziness. It is often protection. A part of you may have learned that vigilance is what keeps disaster away. A part of you may believe that worry proves you are responsible. A part of you may fear that confidence will lead to disappointment, that hope will make you vulnerable, or that ease will cause you to miss something important. So you check the balance with held breath. You prepare yourself for bad news before the screen has loaded. You study ordinary purchases after they are made, wondering whether you have done something wrong. You postpone replacing what is worn out because using anything for yourself feels difficult to justify. You undercharge, then work twice as hard to make the small amount feel deserved. You hesitate before naming your rate. You soften your request before anyone has objected. You say, whatever works for you, when something does not work for you at all. You feel guilty after buying food you enjoy, taking a needed day away, paying for convenience during an exhausting week, or choosing quality after years of making do. You tell yourself that joy can begin when everything settles. The problem is that everything rarely settles at once. There is always another expense, another uncertain month, another responsibility, another reason to keep your life in the waiting room. The date changes, the details change, the condition remains. Not yet. Later, when I am safer, when I know more, when I have more, when no one can question my choice. You may also deflect help. Someone offers support and you answer too quickly, I am fine. Someone tries to make a task easier and you worry that accepting will create a debt you cannot see. Someone gives you a compliment about your work and you reduce it before it can land. Someone asks what you need and you cannot find the words, even though you have spent years anticipating what everyone else might require. This pattern can look like independence from the outside. Inside, it may feel like carrying every bag because you do not trust the floor beneath you. There are quieter signs too. You save ideas without beginning them. You research until the decision becomes heavier than it was at the start. You wait for complete certainty before taking a reasonable step. You assume others know more, deserve more, or are naturally better equipped to ask. You make yourself smaller in rooms where your preparation has already earned you a place. You believe that confidence should arrive before action, when confidence often develops because you acted with care while still feeling unsure. You may work hard and still struggle to feel the work counts. You may meet a goal and immediately move the line. You may improve your circumstances and remain unable to exhale. You may have enough for today and still feel chased by yesterday. This is one of the most painful parts of an old money story. The numbers can change while the alarm inside remains active. The alarm is not proof that you are failing. It is evidence that some part of you learned to expect instability. Perhaps there were tense conversations at home. Perhaps bills changed the atmosphere of a room. Perhaps adults lowered their voices when certain subjects came up, and you understood the danger before you understood the details. Perhaps you watched someone work beyond exhaustion and learned that rest had to be earned through depletion. Perhaps every good thing was followed by a warning not to get used to it. You might have heard that people with more could not be trusted. You might have been taught that wanting comfort was selfish. You might have seen generosity used to control. You might have learned that asking brought shame. You might have watched one unexpected cost undo weeks of careful planning. You might have absorbed the idea that safety is temporary, support is conditional, and good fortune should always be met with suspicion. Children do not sit at the table and evaluate the emotional accuracy of what surrounds them. They absorb tone, they study faces, they learn from what is repeated, what is feared, what is never discussed, and what causes the room to change. A child can turn one hard season into a lifelong rule. Do not need too much. Do not draw attention. Do not relax. Do not trust good news. Do not ask. Do not waste. Do not expect anyone to help. Those rules may have protected belonging. They may have helped you adapt to people who were carrying burdens of their own. They may have made you careful, observant, resourceful, and deeply aware of consequences. The same rules can become too narrow for the life you are building now. This is where compassion becomes essential. You do not heal a fearful pattern by insulting the person you became to survive it. You do not create trust by speaking to yourself with contempt. You do not build a steady inner foundation by calling your old strategies foolish. They were attempts at safety. Some were costly attempts, but they were attempts. You can thank the part of you that learned to watch every door while also teaching it that the house has changed. You can honor the relative who survived a hard decade without turning that decade into your permanent emotional address. You can respect the caution that kept your family going while choosing not to carry every fear as an inheritance. No blame is required. Blame may give the mind a target, but it does not always give the heart a way forward. Understanding is more useful here. It creates enough room to say, this came from somewhere, and it does not have to decide everything next. The people who shaped your early world were shaped too. They had their own tables, their own silences, their own seasons of loss, their own unfinished lessons about asking, saving, earning, spending, sharing, and trusting. Some passed down wisdom, some passed down fear. Most passed down a mixture without knowing which was which. You are not betraying them by sorting through what you received. You are not rejecting your family because you choose a kinder sentence. You are not becoming careless because you want steadiness without constant tension. You are not forgetting the past because you no longer rehearse its worst moment every day. You are taking responsibility for what continues through you. That is different from taking the blame for what began before you. There is dignity in this distinction. It keeps you from turning inner work into another punishment. It helps you approach the page as a place of honesty instead of a test you must pass. The goal is not to force yourself to feel wealthy, fearless, or completely certain. The goal is to build language that your nervous system can meet without immediately closing the door. A sentence can be hopeful and believable at the same time. I am learning to make decisions without abandoning myself. I am becoming more honest about what I need. I am building a steadier relationship with responsibility and rest. I can respect the facts without turning them into a verdict on my worth. These words do not erase a bill. They do not change an interest rate. They do not replace a budget, a conversation, a plan, or qualified guidance. Real financial pressure deserves practical steps, accurate information, and professional support when needed. Affirmations can support mindset. They are not financial advice, and they should never be used to deny the reality of hardship. Their value is more modest and more grounded. They can help you hear the sentence behind in a reaction. They can slow the rush of shame. They can interrupt the habit of treating every mistake as proof that you cannot be trusted. They can remind you that one difficult number is information, not identity. They can make it easier to ask a clear question instead of avoiding the subject. They can help you remain present long enough to choose the next responsible step. That is meaningful. A calmer mind does not guarantee a certain outcome. It can, however, make room for better attention. Better attention can reveal options that panic overlooks. It can help you compare, ask, learn, prepare, and respond with more honesty. The story you hold about yourself influences what you expect from your own actions. When you expect to fail, you may delay beginning. When you expect to be judged, you may hide what you need to learn. When you expect support to disappear, you may refuse it before it can become real. When you expect every good opportunity to expose you, you may find reasons not to step closer. When you assume you are irresponsible, one imperfect choice can feel like a final verdict. You may avoid looking at the facts because you are afraid they will confirm the identity you already fear. A different inner sentence does not manipulate reality. It changes the stance from which you meet reality. I am capable of learning what I was never taught. That sentence can lead you to open the document. I can face this without shaming myself. That sentence can help you read the full page. I am becoming clearer in my choices. That sentence can help you ask for the explanation you need. I respect myself enough to know the facts. That sentence can help you stop postponing the conversation. The shift is not dramatic from the outside. Inside, it is the beginning of partnership with yourself. Many people wait for confidence to arrive as a feeling. They imagine it will feel warm, certain, and unmistakable. Then they will speak. Then they will decide. Then they will charge fairly. Then they will try. Then they will ask. Confidence is often quieter. It may sound like, I do not know yet, but I can find out. It may sound like, this choice is not perfect, but it is thoughtful. It may sound like, I made a mistake and I remain capable of repair. It may sound like, I can hear another person's opinion without surrendering my own judgment. It may sound like, discomfort is here and I do not have to treat it as a command. This kind of confidence is not a performance. It is a relationship. You build it by keeping small promises to your own attention. You build it by telling the truth without cruelty. You build it by returning after avoidance. You build it by letting a lesson remain a lesson instead of turning it into a label. You build it by choosing words that do not place your dignity in the future. The page becomes useful because it records these choices. It does not argue with you. It does not rush you. It does not wreck. You wire a polished answer. It can hold two truths at once. I am afraid, and I am willing to learn. I feel uncertain, and I can still take one responsible step. I regret an old choice, and I am not required to become that choice forever. I want greater ease, and I am prepared to meet it with maturity. I want support, and I am learning not to confuse support with weakness. There is strength in language that can hold complexity. Empty positivity tells you to look away from what hurts. A steady affirmation helps you look directly while remembering that pain is not the whole story. It says, the facts matter. Your feelings matter. Your next choice matters. Your worth is not being calculated by the worst day you have had. This is especially important when shame has become tangled with money. Shame does not make people more responsible. It often makes them hide, rush, freeze, overwork, overspend for relief, or refuse to seek help. Shame narrows attention until the entire self seems reduced to one mistake, one balance, one late start, one missed chance, one season that lasted longer than expected. A respectful inner voice creates space. It can say, this needs my attention. It can also say, I am still worthy of my own care while I address it. Both sentences belong together. Without the first, reflection can become denial. Without the second, responsibility can become punishment. You need neither denial nor punishment. You need honesty with a future in it, not the future tense that postpones your strength. A future that begins with how you speak to yourself now. This is why a daily sentence can matter more than an occasional burst of inspiration. Inspiration rises and falls. A sentence you return to can become part of your inner structure. It can meet you on ordinary days when nothing feels dramatic, when the old pattern appears in a familiar form and asks you to follow it without thought. That is where change becomes real. Not only in the moment you feel uplifted, in the moment you would normally shrink and you remain. In the moment you would normally apologize for your need and you state it clearly. In the moment you would normally avoid the facts and you look with a steady breath. In the moment you would normally call yourself foolish and you choose a useful question instead. What can I learn here? What is the next honest step? What support would make this clearer? What decision respects both reality and my dignity? These questions do not flatter you, they strengthen you. They move you from accusation into participation. They remind you that you are not standing outside your own life waiting to be chosen by it. You are here. You are learning. You are taking part. The old language may still appear. I will trust myself when I have proof. I will feel calm when nothing can go wrong. I will speak clearly when I know no one will be disappointed. I will respect my progress when it is impressive enough. You do not have to fight these sentences. You can meet them and bring them closer. I am learning to trust the evidence of my effort. I am practicing calm while life remains imperfect. I am speaking with greater clarity even when approval is uncertain. I am respecting progress while it is still becoming visible. Present tense does not mean pretending. It means participating. It means refusing to exile every good quality to a later version of you. The person who can become steady is already practicing steadiness. The person who can make wiser choices is already capable of learning. The person who can hold greater responsibility is already building that capacity through today's honest actions. The person who can accept support is already listening differently when support appears. You are not claiming the finished road. You are recognizing that your feet are already on the ground where it begins. The beginning is rarely paved. Before a road can carry weight, the ground beneath it has to be understood. The surface may look ordinary, but the people preparing it are paying attention to what cannot be seen at a glance. They study where the earth dips. They look for soft places that may sink later. They measure the grade. They account for water. They remove what cannot support the path ahead. None of this looks impressive from a distance. There is no smooth finish yet. There is only dust, uneven ground, slow correction, and work that seems to leave the place looking less complete than before. This is often how inner change begins. You become aware of a thought you used to follow without question. You hear the way you speak to yourself after a mistake. You recognize how quickly you assume that difficulty means you are incapable. You see that certain choices are not being made from clear information, but from old fear. At first, awareness can feel like disruption. The ground has been opened. The familiar surface is no longer untouched. You may wonder whether paying attention has made things worse. It has not. You are seeing the grade that was already there. An old belief does not sit quietly in the mind as one isolated sentence. It influences what you look for. It affects what you overlook. It shapes the meaning you give to events. It can make one delay feel like rejection, one expense feel like danger, or one uncertain answer feel like proof that you should stop trying. If the inner sentence says, "I cannot trust myself," your attention begins collecting evidence for that conclusion. You remember the decision that went badly. You forget the choices you handled with care. You replay the moment you hesitated. You dismiss the moment you asked the right question. You study every imperfection in your preparation. You call your persistence luck. This is not because the mind is working against you. The mind often searches for consistency. It tries to make the world match what it already expects. A familiar conclusion can feel safer than a new possibility, even when the familiar conclusion hurts. The sentence, "I always get it wrong," gives the mind a simple rule. The sentence, "I am capable of learning from mixed results," asks for more attention. It asks you to look at context. It asks you to separate what you knew then from what you know now. It asks you to recognize that a choice can be imperfect without proving that the chooser is hopeless. That is a more demanding way to think, but it is also more truthful. The same process affects opportunity. If you believe that asking is dangerous, you may not seek clarification. If you believe that wanting more makes you ungrateful, you may reduce your goals before anyone else sees them. If you believe that responsible people never need support, you may struggle alone with a problem that could have become manageable through one honest conversation. If you believe that your work is easy because it comes naturally to you, you may undervalue the years that made it look natural. If you believe that stability is meant for other people, you may treat every improvement as temporary and every setback as confirmation. A belief guides attention. Attention influences interpretation. Interpretation affects emotion. Emotion can influence action. Action, repeated over time, creates consequences that seem to prove the original belief. This is one reason old patterns can feel so convincing. They produce familiar results through familiar choices, then point to those results as evidence that change was never possible. The cycle can be interrupted, not by pretending the facts are different, not by repeating words you cannot emotionally approach, not by demanding perfect confidence before the next step. It begins by changing the sentence enough to create a different choice. "I always avoid difficult conversations" can become, "I am learning to remain present when a conversation matters." "I cannot manage this" can become, "I can gather the information needed for one part of this." "I ruin every opportunity" can become, "I have missed opportunities, and I can respond differently to the next one." "I am terrible with money" can become, "I am building skills that were not fully taught to me." The revised sentence does not remove responsibility. It makes responsibility possible. A condemning identity leaves little room for movement. If you are the problem, every mistake becomes proof. If you are a person developing a skill, a mistake becomes feedback. That distinction changes what happens next. You may review instead of hide. You may ask instead of assume. You may prepare instead of panic. You may say no before resentment builds. You may take time before agreeing. You may stop using urgency as the only sign that something matters. These changes can look small, yet they are where a new path gains strength. Self-talk also affects recovery. Everyone makes choices they later reconsider. Everyone overlooks something, misjudges timing, trusts the wrong detail, avoids a necessary task, or becomes tired enough to choose relief over long-term care. The question is not whether you will ever make another imperfect decision. The question is how you speak to yourself afterward. A harsh inner response often claims to be useful. It says that criticism will make you sharper. It says shame will keep you from repeating the error. It says kindness will make you careless. In practice, severe self-judgment can make it harder to examine what happened. You become busy defending yourself from your own voice. You may avoid the facts because you know they will be used as evidence against your character. Respect makes a better review possible. You can say, "I do not like this result." You can say, "I need to understand what led here." You can say, "I will make a repair where I can." You can also say, "I refuse to turn this moment into a permanent name for myself." This is not indulgence, it is accurate responsibility. When your worth is not on trial, you can look more directly at your behavior. You can see what needs to change without collapsing into the belief that you are beyond change. Courage is shaped by inner language, too. Courage is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the willingness to remain in honest contact with what matters while uncertainty is present. You may not feel ready to negotiate, but you can prepare one clear sentence. You may not feel ready to review every detail, but you can begin with the most urgent page. You may not feel ready to change a long-standing habit, but you can interrupt it once today. You may not feel ready to trust your judgment completely, but you can stop dismissing it automatically. Each action gives your mind new evidence, not evidence that everything will go your way, evidence that you can stay with yourself while you find out. That evidence matters more than empty certainty. It is built through experience. You make a choice with care. You observe the result. You adjust. You remain respectful toward yourself. You try again with greater knowledge. This is how self-belief becomes grounded. It stops being a flattering idea and becomes a record of how you have treated your own life. The daily page helps preserve that record. Without a record, progress can disappear from memory. The mind often notices what is unfinished more quickly than what has improved. It can move past a difficult step the moment it is completed and become preoccupied with the next concern. A few written sentences can correct this imbalance. Today I asked a question I would once have avoided. Today I looked at the facts without insulting myself. Today I declined something that did not respect my limits. Today I made a careful choice without waiting for universal approval. Today I returned to a task after feeling discouraged. These are not decorations for the page. They are evidence of alignment. They show that the new sentence is beginning to influence behavior. This is why the practice should not be measured only by how inspired you feel while doing it. Some days the words will feel strong. Some days they will feel ordinary. Some days You may feel doubtful from the first line to the last. The value can still be present. A road is not prepared only on clear, beautiful days. The work continues through changing conditions. The grade must still be checked. The low places must still be corrected. The base must still be made strong enough to carry what will come later. Your daily practice can have the same steadiness. You do not need to manufacture a special mood. You do not need to feel completely open. You do not need to produce a perfect page. You need enough honesty to meet the sentence. That may be all. There will be days when you sit down and immediately hear resistance. This is pointless. You should be doing something more productive. You already know these words. Nothing is changing quickly enough. Let the resistance speak without giving it full authority. It may be the old surface defending itself. Familiar thoughts can feel efficient because they require no new examination. They already know where to lead. A new sentence asks the mind to travel differently. It may feel awkward because the path has not yet been used often. Awkward does not mean false. Unfamiliar does not mean wrong. Slow does not mean ineffective. You are not trying to impress yourself with language. You are teaching your attention where to return. That return becomes important when pressure rises. Under stress, the mind often chooses the oldest route. It reaches for the conclusions it has rehearsed most often. If the most repeated sentence is, "I cannot handle this," that thought may appear before any careful assessment. A daily written practice gives another response a chance to become available. I can slow down and gather the facts. I can ask for help without surrendering my dignity. I can take one step before I know the entire solution. I can feel fear without handing it every decision. Repeated language does not remove the challenge. It makes another response easier to reach. This is where the physical act matters. The hand moves more slowly than anxious thought. It cannot usually race through 10 conclusions at once. It forms one word, then the next. That slower pace can reveal where a sentence catches. You may write, "I trust myself to make careful decisions," and feel tension at the word trust. You may write, "I can accept support," and feel the urge to cross out support. You may write, "I am worthy of fair exchange," and feel uncertainty around fair. The place where you hesitate deserves curiosity. You do not need to force the sentence through. You can ask what the hesitation is protecting. Does trust feel dangerous because you were criticized? For a choice? Does support feel costly because help once came with control? Does fair exchange feel uncomfortable because you were praised for asking for little? The page can show you the low places in the ground. That is useful knowledge. A low place is not a moral failure. It is an area that needs preparation. The workers do not insult the earth for dipping. They measure it. They add what is needed. They level carefully. They understand that if the foundation is rushed, the smooth surface will not remain smooth for long. Your inner work deserves the same patience. A sentence may need to be adjusted until it can bear weight. I am completely confident may feel too far from your present experience. I am willing to respect myself while confidence grows may be strong enough to stand on. I always make excellent decisions, may feel like a denial of your history. I am becoming more thoughtful, informed, and steady in my choices, may feel honest. I am fearless about money, may create immediate resistance. I can meet financial facts with increasing calm and practical care, may give you somewhere to place your feet. The bridge sentence is not weaker. It is properly graded. It meets you where you are and creates a believable direction. Over time, the wording may change because you have changed. What once felt difficult to write may become natural. What once felt natural to write may no longer be large enough for your growth. A daily habit gives you a way to witness this. The first pages may hold uncertainty, later pages may hold clearer boundaries. Still later, you may see that you no longer explain every need before stating it. You no longer erase every success with a warning. You no longer call every period of rest laziness. You no longer treat a slower season as proof that the road ends here. This progress may not look dramatic while it is happening. That is part of the teaching. Weeks of leveling are rarely photographed. No one stands at the edge admiring the corrected grade. Few people praise the drainage plan. The compacted base does not look like the finished road, even though the finished road depends on it. Those who pass later may see only the smooth surface. They may say it happened suddenly. They did not watch the measurements. They did not see the places that had to be filled, pressed, checked, and checked again. They did not see how often the work looked unfinished. Your confidence can appear sudden to people who did not witness the preparation. They may hear you state a boundary and think you became strong overnight. They may see you ask for fair treatment and assume courage arrived all at once. They may notice that you no longer apologize for every decision and imagine that doubt disappeared. They did not see the pages. They did not see the sentence you could barely finish the first time. They did not see you return after missing several days. They did not see the moment you recognized an inherited rule and chose not to follow it. They didn't see how many times you practiced speaking to yourself without contempt. The visible change rests on invisible preparation. This can help you stop demanding immediate proof. You may be doing foundational work now. You may be learning to remain with discomfort instead of escaping it. You may be separating facts from fear. You may be discovering that support can be accepted without losing autonomy. You may be learning that a boundary is not an attack. You may be seeing that thoughtful spending and thoughtful saving can both come from care rather than punishment. You may be understanding that rest can protect the quality of your work. These changes may not produce applause. They are still preparing the path. The smooth road appears later because the base was respected earlier. This does not mean you should wait passively for life to improve. Preparation includes action. It includes learning, planning, comparing, asking, practicing, and correcting. It includes looking at what is real without turning reality into a reason to abandon yourself. The metaphor is not an invitation to delay. It is a reminder not to mistake hidden progress for no progress. You can take practical steps while the inner ground is being prepared. You can seek advice from qualified professionals. You can learn how a system works. You can build a plan based on your actual circumstances. You can ask someone to explain what you do not understand. You can review agreements before accepting them. You can change a habit gradually. You can leave room for adjustment. The affirmation walks beside these actions. It does not replace them. It helps you approach them with a steadier posture. The sentence on the page can remind you why the action matters. I am building trust by facing what is mine to face. Then you open the account. I am strengthening my voice through clear requests. Then you prepare the conversation. I am learning to make decisions from facts and self-respect. Then you gather the information. I am creating a stronger foundation through consistent care. Then you return tomorrow. This is how words become credible. They are followed by behavior, not perfect behavior, aligned behavior. A sentence and an action begin pointing in the same direction. That alignment strengthens self-belief more than any attempt to persuade yourself through force. You start to recognize, I did what I said I would do. You may have done only part of it. You may have adjusted the plan. You may have needed support. The promise was not perfection. The promise was participation. Each time you participate, the foundation becomes more dependable. A single day may not feel significant. Neither does one pass over uneven ground. The change comes through careful repetition. A little corrected here. A soft place strengthened there. A slope adjusted so pressure does not collect where it can cause damage later. The work is patient because use it is meant to last. Your daily sentence is part of that patience. It says, I will not wait until I feel completely transformed to treat myself as someone worth guiding well. It says, I will not use one fearful reaction to deny all the work beneath it. It says, I can be in preparation and still be moving. You are not behind because the surface is not finished. You are learning what can carry the life you want to build. You are removing conclusions that collapse under pressure. You are strengthening language that can remain steady when a day is difficult. You are checking where guilt has distorted the grade. You are correcting the places where inherited fear taught you to lean away from your own judgment. You are preparing to move with greater trust, not because every future condition is known, but because you are becoming someone who can meet changing conditions without leaving yourself behind. That preparation is not separate from confidence. It is confidence before it becomes visible. A road becomes dependable long before it looks complete. The first visible changes can be discouraging. The surface is disturbed. the familiar shape disappears. What once looked settled now looks uncertain. There are marks in the earth, uneven edges, and areas that seem to have been taken apart without any sign of what will replace them. This is where many people stop trusting the process. They expect preparation to look like progress. They expect progress to feel encouraging. They expect each return to the page to produce a clear emotional reward. Yet the deepest work may feel plain. It may feel repetitive. It may even feel as though you are meeting the same thought again and again. You are not always meeting the same thought. Sometimes you are meeting it at a deeper layer. The first time, you may recognize the sentence. The next time, you may recognize what triggers it. Later, you may recognize the behavior it creates. Still later, you may recognize the moment before the behavior when a different choice is still available. This is not going in circles. It is learning the grade of the ground. A worker can pass over the same stretch many times, not because nothing happened before, but because each pass gives the base greater strength. Loose areas settle, high points are reduced, weak places become easier to identify. The path begins to hold its shape. Your inner practice can work this way. You return to one honest idea. You meet it in a different mood. You meet it after a mistake. You meet it after a small success. You meet it when another person's opinion has unsettled you. You meet it when an ordinary expense has awakened an old fear. You meet it when the day has gone well, yet some part of you is still waiting for trouble. The sentence remains steady while your circumstances change. That steadiness gives you a place to stand. Without it, your self-image may rise and fall with every result. A good day makes you feel capable. A difficult day makes you question everything. Praise lifts you. Silence empties you. A clear decision brings relief. One moment of doubt causes you to distrust the whole path. Self-belief cannot become stable if it depends on constant proof. It needs a deeper base. It needs a way to remain present when proof is incomplete. This does not mean refusing feedback. It does not mean calling every choice wise. It means your basic relationship with yourself is not rebuilt and destroyed by each passing event. You can be disappointed and still remain on your own side. You can revise a decision and still respect the person who made it. You can acknowledge that you were unprepared without deciding that you are incapable of preparation. You can feel embarrassed without making humiliation your method of growth. A dependable road does not promise that every journey will be easy. It provides a surface strong enough to meet changing weight and weather. A dependable inner relationship does something similar. It does not promise that you will never doubt. It helps you move through doubt without turning against yourself. This is the work beneath confidence. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It does not need witnesses. The world often celebrates the paved result. It praises the clear voice, the firm boundary, the calm decision, the new opportunity, the visible skill. It rarely sees the weeks when you were correcting the ground. It does not see you catching the thought, "I do not deserve to ask," and replacing it with, "I can ask respectfully and accept the answer." It does not see you sitting with the discomfort of naming a fair rate. It does not see you opening information you once avoided. It does not see you learning to distinguish caution from panic. It does not see you choosing not to spend from loneliness, not because desire is shameful, but because you are learning to care for the need beneath the impulse. It does not see you choosing rest before exhaustion makes every decision harder. It does not see you admitting that you need guidance. It does not see you taking one responsible action without announcing it. These are grading days. They shape the path. A daily page can become one of the tools you use to check that grade. Not every sentence must be positive. Some sentences should be true before they become hopeful. Today, I felt afraid when I looked at the numbers. Today, I wanted to avoid the conversation. Today, I compared my progress with someone else's visible result. Today, I felt ashamed of how long this is taking. Honesty clears loose ground. It prevents you from covering a weak place with a polished statement and calling the work finished. After honesty, direction can follow. I remained present. I asked what I needed to know. I gave myself time before deciding. I did not use fear as proof of failure. I returned. This is how the surface becomes strong. A truth first, direction next, then repetition. A page filled with exaggerated claims may create distance. You read the words and feel that they belong to someone else. A page filled only with fear can deepen the old root. The steadier practice holds both reality and movement. It says, "This is where I am." It also says, "This is how I am choosing to meet it." Those two statements belong together. You do not need to leap from doubt to certainty. You need a sentence strong enough for the next step. The central sentence for this practice is simple. I strengthen trust beneath each steady step. Let the words be modest. Let them be close. Let them describe an action already beginning. I strengthen trust beneath each steady step. You are not claiming that the whole road is finished. You are recognizing that each careful return adds support. On a day when the sentence feels natural, receive it without trying to make the moment larger. On a day when it feels difficult, reduce the pressure around it. I am becoming willing to trust the steps I take with care. Then return once more. I strengthen trust beneath each steady step. 3 encounters with one sentence can be enough. The first lets the mind hear it. The second lets resistance become visible. The third gives you a chance to remain. You are not trying to overpower doubt. You are showing doubt that another voice now lives here. The daily page can begin with that line, but it should not end there. The sentence becomes stronger when it is joined by specific evidence, practical intention, and a kinder interpretation of what you are learning. Place the page before you. Let the hand move at an unhurried pace. Give each sentence its own line. Do not decorate the words. Do not rush to the next one. Let the meaning arrive as it arrives. I strengthen trust beneath each steady step. I can learn without shaming the learner. I meet today's facts with calm attention. I make room for support and clear guidance. I respect the work that others may not see. I build confidence through honest, repeated action. I am becoming steadier in the choices I make. These are the lines. Keep them separate. Let each one stand on the page without explanation at first. Then look back at the first line. I strengthen trust beneath each steady step. Ask yourself where a steady step already happened. It may have been a conversation you began. It may have been a purchase you delayed until you were clear. It may have been a necessary expense you accepted without punishing yourself. It may have been an application you completed, a question you asked, a limit you honored, or a plan you reviewed. Name the evidence. Do not call it too small. Small evidence is still evidence. Now look at the second line. I can learn without shaming the learner. This line separates correction from cruelty. You may need to return to it after a mistake. You may need it when you discover something you wish you had understood years ago. You may need it when someone else seems more informed, more prepared, or further ahead. Learning is not proof that you are late. Learning is what responsible people do when reality asks more of them. Shame says, you should already know. Respect says, now you can know more. Shame closes the page. Respect keeps it open. Move to the third line. I meet today's facts with calm attention. Today's facts are not every fear you can imagine. They are what is here now, what is due, what is available, what needs a decision, what can wait, what requires advice, what can be completed, what needs to be discussed. Calm attention is not the same as pretending the facts are easy. It means you do not add unnecessary punishment to the information before you. A number can guide a choice. A number cannot define your worth. A delay can require adjustment. A delay cannot tell you who you are. A difficult season can ask for support. A difficult season is not a permanent identity. The fourth line is about support. I make room for support and clear guidance. Support may be practical. It may be an explanation from someone qualified. It may be help reviewing a document. It may be a conversation with a trusted person who can think clearly beside you. It may be a professional who understands the area you are facing. It may be a simple request for time. Support does not erase your agency. The right support strengthens it. You remain responsible for your decisions. You also stop treating isolation as proof of strength. The fifth line protects invisible progress. I respect the work that others may not see. This line matters because comparison usually compares your unfinished groundwork with someone else's paved surface. You see the announcement. You do not see the corrections. You see the confidence. You do not see the years of hesitation. You see the visible result. You do not see the questions, revisions, private disappointments, or steady returns that made it possible. The same is true of your life. Others may not see the decisions you chose not to make. They may not see the expense you prevented through preparation. They may not see the emotional habit you interrupted. They may not see the way you spoke to yourself after a setback. They may not see that you came back to the task instead of abandoning it. Respect that work. It is part of the road. The sixth line brings language into behavior. I build confidence through honest, repeated action. Confidence is not being asked to appear before the action. It is being built through the action. You tell the truth about where you are. You choose one appropriate step. You repeat the process. The action does not have to be impressive. It has to be honest. A clear email can be honest action. A reviewed statement can be honest action. A question can be honest action. A day of not avoiding the subject can be honest action. A decision to seek qualified help can be honest action. A boundary can be honest action. The seventh line gives the practice room to grow. I am becoming steadier in the choices I make. This is a bridge. It does not demand perfection. It does not say every choice is easy. It recognizes direction. Becoming is present tense. It is happening now. You may still hesitate. You may still change your mind. You may still need more information. Steadiness is not rigidity. It is the ability to remain connected to your values while you respond to what is real. After placing these lines on the page, add one sentence of evidence. Today I strengthen trust by, complete it with something specific. Today I strengthen trust by asking for clarification. Today I strengthen trust by reviewing the facts before reacting. Today I strengthen trust by honoring my limit. Today I strengthen trust by beginning again. Then add one sentence of direction. The next steady step is keep it practical. The next steady step is reading the full agreement. The next steady step is scheduling the conversation. The next steady step is gathering the missing information. The next steady step is giving myself one day before deciding. The next steady step is asking a qualified person for guidance. The practice does not need to become long to become meaningful. Its strength comes from consistency and honesty. Some days you may fill a page. Some days the core lines, one piece of evidence, and one next step will be enough. Do not turn the habit into another measure of whether you are good enough. A missed day is not a broken road. Return without ceremony. Do not spend the next page apologizing for the blank one. Begin where you are. The old pattern may try to turn consistency into perfection. It may say that if you cannot do it every day without interruption, the practice has failed. That is the voice of all or nothing thinking, not the voice of lasting preparation. Real foundations are adjusted. Conditions change. Work pauses. Then it resumes. Your task is not to maintain an unbroken performance. Your task is to build a reliable return. That return may be the deepest habit of all. You return after doubt. You return after distraction. You return after a discouraging result. You return after a day when the old voice was louder. You return because trust is not proven by never wandering. It is strengthened by knowing how to come back. The page becomes a meeting place between the person you have been and the person you are. We're practicing becoming. The older part may say, keep your expectations low. The steadier part can answer, I can remain realistic without abandoning hope. The older part may say, do not ask because rejection will hurt. The steadier part can answer, I can ask with dignity and survive an answer I do not prefer. The older part may say, one mistake proves you cannot be trusted. The steadier part can answer, one mistake gives me something to learn. The older part may say, no one cares about the hidden effort. The steadier part can answer, unseen work still carries weight. This is not a battle that must end with one side destroyed. The older part learned its language under pressure. It can be met with firmness and care. You can say, I understand why you expect danger. You can say, I am gathering better information now. You can say, you do not have to manage every decision alone. You can say, caution may speak, but it will not be the only voice. The road within is being corrected through these conversations. A slope that once pulled every thought toward fear becomes more balanced. A weak area that once collapsed under criticism becomes able to hold discomfort. A low place where guilt collected begins to drain. The work remains quiet. It is still real. You may begin to see changes outside the page. You answer more slowly when pressured. You stop explaining a boundary after it has already been clearly stated. You ask what something costs before deciding whether you should want it. You let a compliment remain whole. You look at your progress without immediately moving the measure. You consider support before exhaustion makes support unavoidable. These are signs that the inner grade is changing. The change may not feel sudden to you. You watched every pass. You felt every correction. You know how many ordinary days built it. To someone else, your steadiness may seem to have appeared overnight. Let them see the paved surface. You know what is beneath it. There comes a point when stronger self-belief must enter the places where guilt once made every good thing feel expensive. not expensive only in price, expensive in emotion, expensive in explanation, expensive in the private cost of wondering whether you were permitted to have it at all. A calmer choice can still feel wrong when your inner foundation was built around proving that you need very little. You may know that something is reasonable, useful, or supportive, yet feel compelled to defend it before anyone has questioned you. You may prepare an argument for why you deserve a rest day, a better tool, a fair exchange, a clearer boundary, or help that reduces unnecessary strain. The guilt often arrives before the good thing does. It waits at the edge of the path as though every improvement must pay a toll. This is where the groundwork becomes important. Without a stronger base, guilt can distort the grade. It can make self-denial look response. Bible and self-respect look excessive. It can make exhaustion seem virtuous. It can persuade you that accepting support means you have failed to carry enough alone. You may have learned to admire struggle because struggle was visible. People noticed sacrifice. They praised endurance. They called you strong when you needed less, asked for less, tolerated more, or kept going after your body and mind had already asked for relief. That praise may have helped you survive. It may also have taught you to confuse depletion with worth. You can release that confusion without rejecting the strength that carried you. Strength is not measured by how much unnecessary weight you can drag across uneven ground. Strength also appears in discernment. It appears when you ask whether the burden belongs to you. It appears when you choose a better tool. It appears when you accept assistance before collapse. It appears when you stop proving your goodness through hardship. A road is not made stronger by refusing support where support is needed. It is strengthened by the right material, placed where the earth cannot hold the future weight alone. This is not weakness. It is sound preparation. The same is true in your life. There may be places where knowledge is needed. There may be places where advice is needed. There may be places where rest is needed. There may be places where a direct conversation is needed. There may be places where your current plan needs adjustment rather than criticism. The old pattern may interpret any need as failure. A steadier voice can interpret need as information. Information helps you build. Shame makes you hide the tools. You are allowed to use what supports responsible progress. You are allowed to ask a qualified person to explain what feels confusing. You are allowed to take time before signing, agreeing, buying, committing, or promising. You are allowed to compare options. You are allowed to say that a cost is beyond your present capacity. You are allowed to say that your work deserves fair consideration. You are allowed to change a plan when the facts change. These permissions do not guarantee an easy outcome. They protect your dignity, while you meet the outcome that is real. Receiving without guilt does not mean taking without thought. It does not mean ignoring consequences. It does not mean calling every desire essential. It means you stop treating every form of support, comfort, recognition, or fair exchange as evidence that you have become selfish. There is a difference between entitlement and willingness. Entitlement assumes everything is owed. Willingness says, I do not have to push away what is healthy merely because receiving feels unfamiliar. There is a difference between carelessness and ease. Carelessness refuses to look at the facts. Ease says, I can look clearly without making tension my proof of responsibility. There is a difference between avoidance and rest. Avoidance abandons what needs attention. Rest gives you enough steadiness to return with better judgment. There is a difference between greed and capacity. Greed consumes without regard. Capacity lets you hold more responsibility, more opportunity, more support, and more choice without losing your values. Your daily page can help you practice these distinctions. The page can expose where guilt speaks in absolutes. I should never need help. I must always choose the least for myself. I cannot relax until every future problem is solved. I should be grateful for whatever is offered, even if it does not respect me. I must accept less because asking feels dangerous. These are not laws. They are old grading lines. Some were drawn under pressure. Some were inherited. Some were made when you had less power, less information, or fewer choices. You can measure again. You can look at the ground as it is now. A new assessment may reveal that you are capable of carrying responsibility without carrying shame. It may reveal that your standards are not unreasonable. It may reveal that asking for clarity protects both sides. It may reveal that a fair boundary keeps resentment from damaging what you are trying to preserve. It may reveal that receiving well can make you more thoughtful, not less. People sometimes imagine that guilt is what keeps them humble. Humility does not require self-erasure. Humility lets you see yourself accurately. You have strengths. You have limitations. You have things to offer. You have things to learn. You can contribute and still need support. You can be grateful and still desire change. You can appreciate what is present without pretending that what is missing does not matter. You can accept praise without deciding you are superior. You can accept compensation without treating it as proof of moral worth. You can make a careful purchase without asking the purchase to prove that you are successful. You can decline a purchase without turning deprivation into virtue. The steadier path is not built from extremes. It is built from honest alignment. What serves the life you are actually living? What reflects the facts? What respects your values? What can you sustain? What requires further learning? What gives temporary relief but creates a heavier burden later? What asks more of you now but strengthens your options over time. These are practical questions. They deserve practical answers. An affirmation does not answer them for you. It helps you approach them without abandoning yourself. The page may remind you, I meet decisions with calm attention. Then you gather information. The page may remind you, I make room for clear guidance. Then you seek it. The page may remind you, I can learn without shaming the learner. Then you ask the question you once felt embarrassed to ask. The sentence and the action move together. This is how inner language earns trust. You do not use the words to escape reality. You use them to remain present inside reality. There may be real limitations. There may be debt, low income, unstable work, family obligations, rising costs, or a long recovery from earlier decisions. These circumstances deserve honesty. They deserve planning, support, and qualified guidance suited to your situation. A kinder mindset does not make a hard situation imaginary. It can help prevent the situation from becoming an identity. You are a person facing pressure. You are not pressure itself. You are a person learning new skills. You are not the absence of those skills. You are a person making corrections. You are not permanently defined by what required correction. This distinction protects the part of you that must keep participating. When people feel ashamed, they often delay asking for help until the problem has become larger. They imagine they must solve everything privately before they are worthy of being seen. They wait until they can tell a cleaner story. You do not need a cleaner story. You need accurate support. You can bring the unfinished facts. You can say, this is where I am. You can say, this is what I understand. You can say, this is where I need help. A road crew does not hide the soft ground and hope no one notices after paving. The soft ground is identified because the path is meant to last. You can treat your vulnerable areas with the same respect. If impulse spending becomes stronger when you feel lonely, that is useful to understand. If you avoid checking details when you fear criticism, that is useful to understand. If you agree too quickly because disappointing others feels unsafe, that is useful to understand. If you refuse help because obligation frightens you, that is useful to understand. The purpose is not to label yourself. The purpose is to build with better information. A soft area can be strengthened. A slope can be corrected. Water can be redirected. A route can be reconsidered. Nothing about the ground is insulted by being studied. Let your patterns be studied with the same dignity. You may find that guilt appears after an ordinary act of care. You order food during a demanding week and then spend the evening criticizing yourself. You replace something that no longer works and feel you should have tolerated it longer. You pay for assistance and immediately decide you should have managed alone. You take an opportunity and worry that someone else deserved it more. You accept praise and feel compelled to name every flaw. In these moments, stop asking whether you can prove that you deserve the good thing. Ask whether the choice was thoughtful, honest, and aligned with your circumstances. Deserving is often too vague a court. The evidence changes according to your mood. Alignment is clearer. Did you consider the facts? Did you act within your values? Did you avoid harming yourself or another person? Did the choice support a real need, a meaningful goal, or a reasonable form of care? Can you take responsibility for the consequences? These questions create a stronger grade than guilt. Guilt often speaks first and examines later. Discernment examines first, then it chooses. You can learn to recognize the difference in your body. Guilt rushes. It demands immediate repayment. It tells you to shrink, explain, apologize, or undo. Discernment has more space. It may still say no. It may still say wait. It may still say this needs a different plan. Yet it does not attack your right to exist while giving the answer. That is the voice you are building. A voice that can guide without humiliating. A voice that can correct without threatening belonging. A voice that can hold both care and responsibility. This voice will not always be the loudest at first. The old road has been used many times. The new grade is still being established. You may need to return to the same sentence after each wave of guilt. I can make a responsible choice without punishing myself for having needs. You may not believe it completely. Use the bridge. I am becoming willing to treat my needs as information, not accusations. Then look for one action that supports the sentence. Maybe you check the facts again. Maybe you revise the decision. Maybe you keep the decision and release the punishment. Maybe you speak with someone qualified. Maybe you admit that the need is real. Maybe you decide that the timing is not right without turning the answer into deprivation. This is mature care. It does not always say yes. It does not always say no. It stays in relationship with reality. That relationship matters when you begin accepting fair exchange. Many people are comfortable giving and uneasy receiving. Giving lets them feel useful. Receiving exposes them to visibility. It asks them to remain still long enough for value to come toward them. You may deflect a compliment. You may discount your effort. You may add extra work after an agreement because the original exchange feels too generous. You may accept less and then hope someone will notice how much more you contributed. You may feel safer being under-recognized than clearly seen. This can create quiet resentment. You give beyond what was agreed. You wait for others to recognize the imbalance. They may not know an imbalance exists because you never named it. Then the old story says, people take advantage of me. Sometimes people do. Sometimes the pattern is also strengthened by boundaries that were never spoken. Recognizing this is not blaming yourself. It returns choice to you. You can learn to define the exchange. You can ask what is included. You can state what additional work requires. You can decide what you are freely giving and what needs another agreement. You can let generosity remain generosity by not using it to purchase safety, approval, or future. Rescue. A clear agreement is part of the foundation. It protects trust. It protects relationships. It protects your energy from becoming a hidden debt that no one knows they owe. The daily page can prepare you for this clarity. I can be kind without becoming unclear. I can be generous without abandoning my limits. I can ask for fair exchange without making another person wrong. I can hear no without deciding I should never ask again. I can hear yes without questioning whether I tricked someone into valuing me. These sentences help correct the internal slope. They do not control another person's response. They help you remain upright while the response arrives. That is self-belief in practice. Not expecting every door to open. Knowing that a closed door does not require you to collapse. Not assuming every request will be met. Knowing you can make a respectful request and remain whole. Not pretending rejection does not hurt. Knowing pain can move through without becoming a permanent verdict. The road does not become dependable because it avoids all pressure. It becomes dependable because the preparation allows it to meet pressure without losing its structure. Your inner structure is being strengthened in the same way. You are learning to hold praise without becoming inflated. You are learning to hold criticism without becoming erased. You are learning to hold support without becoming indebted in your identity. You are learning to hold responsibility without becoming cruel. You are learning to hold desire without turning desire into shame. This is capacity. It grows quietly. It may show up in the way you answer a message. It may show up in the time you take before agreeing. It may show up in the way you stop giving explanations that were never requested. It may show up when you accept a useful gift and say thank you without minimizing it. It may show up when you price your work with care instead of fear. It may show up when you decide not to buy something and feel no need to punish yourself for wanting it. These are stable choices. They do not need to be dramatic. They need to be yours. There will still be moments when old guilt returns. A smoother path does not erase the history of the ground beneath it. It is built with that history understood. You do not have to be startled by the return of an old feeling. You can recognize it. You can say, "This is the old toll." You can decline to pay it. You can keep the lesson and release the punishment. You can keep responsibility and release humiliation. You can keep gratitude and release self-denial. You can keep care and release fear as the only guide. If this quieter rebuilding is speaking to something real in you, You may comment rising as a simple mark of the path you are choosing to strengthen. Then return to the page. Let the word be followed by a step. Let the step be honest. Let the honesty be enough for today. The work does not become more real because others witness it. The grade still changes. The base still firms. The road still prepares to carry more than it could before. You are learning to welcome support without surrendering judgment. You are learning to welcome fair exchange without apologizing for your value. You are learning to welcome rest without calling it failure. You are learning to welcome clarity even when clarity asks you to change. You are learning to welcome your own needs into the conversation, not as commands, not as accusations, as information worthy of care. This is what it means to retire guilt while keeping dignity. You do not become careless. You become clearer. You do not become demanding. You become more honest. You do not become dependent. You become more willing to use wise support. You do not abandon practical action. You stop using punishment as proof that you are taking action seriously. The path strengthens beneath you, quietly, daily. Before anyone calls it sudden, the road beneath you does not ask whether every traveler understands how it was built. It does not need applause for the weeks of preparation. It does not defend the time spent correcting what could not be rushed. It carries weight because the hidden work was done. Your inner foundation can become just as quiet. There may come a day when you realize you no longer need to persuade yourself with force. The sentence on the page does not have to shout. It does not have to compete with every fear at once. It only has to remain available when the old route appears. You see the familiar reaction. You feel the familiar pull. Then another sentence rises, not louder, clearer. You remember that caution can be useful without becoming a cage. You remember that one uncertain moment does not cancel your preparation. You remember that the next step can be measured before it is taken. This is where repetition begins to feel less like an exercise and more like recognition. You recognize the person who now asks before assuming. You recognize the person who remains present while learning. You recognize the person who can make a correction without turning correction into self-rejection. The change may first appear in small delays between feeling and action. A message arrives and you do not answer from pressure. A concern appears and you do not immediately imagine its worst conclusion. An offer is made, and you give yourself time to understand it. An expense arises, and you look at the facts before judging your character. A mistake becomes visible, and you ask what repair is possible. That space between reaction and choice is part of the new road. It was once uneven. Everything rushed toward the lowest place. Fear gathered there. Shame gathered there. Urgency gathered there. Now the grade is changing. A thought can pass through, without pulling every decision behind it. You can feel the old alarm and still choose a measured response. You can feel uncertainty and still ask a clear question. You can feel disappointment and still remain respectful toward yourself. This steadiness does not remove emotion. It gives emotion somewhere safe to move. You no longer have to turn every feeling into a command. Fear can speak. It does not have to steer. Guilt can appear. It does not have to collect payment. Doubt can arrive. It does not have to close the road. This is the deeper purpose of the daily page. It becomes a place where your inner language is prepared before pressure tests it. You form the sentence when you have enough space to hear it. You meet it again when the day becomes crowded. You recall it when the old conclusion tries to move faster than your wisdom. The page is not separate from life. It is part of the groundwork for life. Each return strengthens familiarity. Familiarity matters because the mind often reaches first for what it knows best. When respectful language has been practiced, it becomes easier to find. When a bridge sentence has been repeated honestly, it can appear before the harsh verdict finishes forming. I am becoming steadier in the choices I make. That sentence may meet you while you are deciding whether to speak. I can learn without shaming the learner. That sentence may meet you when you discover an error. I meet today's facts with calm attention. That sentence may meet you before opening information you have avoided. I make room for support and clear guidance. That sentence may meet you when pride tells you to struggle alone. The words become useful through contact with real moments. They become part of your response. They help you preserve enough dignity to remain engaged. A person who feels condemned often wants to escape. A person who feels respected can stay and learn. This is not only true in your relationships with others. It is true in your relationship with yourself. Your inner voice can become a place where learning is possible. That voice can be firm. It can say, "This choice needs review." It can say, "This pattern is costing too much." It can say, "The agreement is not clear." It can say, "More information is needed." It can say, "Support should be sought." Firmness and cruelty are not the same. A well-prepared road has boundaries. It has edges. It has direction. It is not strengthened by confusion. Your self-respect can have edges too. You can be compassionate without becoming vague. You can be open without accepting every condition. You can be hopeful without ignoring what the facts require. You can be patient without postponing every necessary action. You can be flexible without losing your values. These distinctions protect the path. They help prevent old guilt from disguising itself as kindness. They help prevent fear from disguising itself as wisdom. They help prevent avoidance from disguising itself as patience. A daily sentence can expose the disguise. When you place an honest statement on paper, you can compare it with your behavior. I respect my limits. Did I agree while already knowing I could not sustain the demand? I ask for clear guidance. Did I remain silent because I feared appearing uninformed? I make thoughtful choices. Did I act from urgency because slowing down felt uncomfortable? This reflection is not a trial, it is a measurement. Road preparation depends on measurement. Without it, the surface may look acceptable while hidden pressure continues pulling everything out of alignment. You measure because you care about what the path will carry. You reflect because you care about the life your choices are building. Sometimes the measurement will show progress. Sometimes it will show a place that needs more work. Both results are useful. You may discover that one affirmation feels natural, while another still creates tension. You may trust yourself in work decisions, but struggle in personal exchanges. You may accept guidance easily, but find it hard to accept praise. You may be comfortable saving for others and uncomfortable using resources for your own needs. You may speak clearly in one room and disappear in another. This does not make the practice inconsistent. It shows where the ground differs. Not every stretch requires the same preparation. Some areas are already firm. Some need time. Some need a new method. Some need outside expertise. Some need the removal of an old rule that no longer belongs. The page helps you see the difference. You do not have to repair every area at once. The desire to transform everything immediately can become another form of pressure. It can make gradual progress feel inadequate. It can make you abandon a useful habit because it did not change your whole life in a week. Strong preparation respects sequence. One section is graded, then another. One weakness is addressed, then the next. The path becomes dependable through order, not panic. Choose the sentence that meets the place where you are now. If the strongest pattern is avoidance, use language that supports presence. I remain available to the facts. If the strongest pattern is shame, use language that supports learning. I can correct a choice without condemning myself. If the strongest pattern is undercharging, use language that supports clear exchange. I can speak about value with honesty and respect. If the strongest pattern is guilt after self-care, use language that supports balance. I can care for my needs without abandoning responsibility. The sentence should point toward behavior. Then behavior gives the sentence weight. This is how the practice avoids becoming empty. You do not use the page to declare that everything is perfect. You use it to prepare the posture from which you will meet what is imperfect. That posture becomes calmer, more direct, less apologetic, more willing to learn, less willing to disappear. You begin to understand that self-belief is not an opinion you hold about yourself all day. It is the way you return to yourself when the day challenges that opinion. It is easy to feel capable when the result is good. The deeper practice begins when the result disappoints you. Do you leave yourself? Do you insult yourself? Do you repeat the oldest accusation, or do you remain? Remaining may sound like this: I am here, I will look, I will learn, I will repair what I can. I will not turn one outcome into my whole identity. This is a stable surface. It can carry disappointment without collapsing. It can carry responsibility without becoming punishment. It can carry hope without requiring fantasy. It can carry ambition without making rest an enemy. It can carry desire without making desire a source of shame. You have been preparing this capacity each time you chose a present tense sentence over a distant promise. Not someday, now. Not after every fear is gone. While fear is being understood. Not after perfect confidence arrives. While confidence is being built. The future is still important. Planning matters. Goals matter. Preparation matters. The difference is that your strength is no longer assigned only to the person you hope to become. Some of it belongs to you now. You may still be learning how to use it. It is still yours. A road under construction is already a road in formation. The surface may not be finished. The direction exists. The grade exists. The base is becoming capable of carrying more. This is how you can regard yourself. Not unfinished in a way that diminishes you. In formation, in practice, in honest preparation. The daily habit becomes a way of witnessing that formation. You see the words change. At first, the page may be filled with reassurance. Later, it may become more specific. At first, you may need to write, I am safe enough to look. Later you may write, I reviewed the details and asked 3 clear questions. At first you may need to write, I am worthy of respect. Later you may write, I stated the limit without over-explaining it. The statement becomes action. The action becomes evidence. The evidence supports a deeper statement. This is an upward movement, but it does not always feel upward. Some days reveal more work, some days bring fatigue. Some days expose a place you thought was already firm. That does not erase the previous passes. A prepared road still needs maintenance. Weather changes, pressure changes, use changes, care continues. Your inner life deserves maintenance without shame. You can revisit a sentence. You can strengthen an old boundary. You can ask for guidance again. You can revise a plan. You can return to the basics. Returning is not regression. It is care. The rain begins here. Not as a demand to feel something dramatic, as a series of clear statements that can settle into the prepared ground. Let each line stand alone. Let the shorter words carry less pressure. You do not have to force agreement. You can listen. You can choose what feels honest. You can return to what needs time. I trust the steps I take with care. I meet facts without abandoning myself. I learn with patience and respect. I make room for wiser choices. I can ask clear questions. I can accept useful guidance. I value steady preparation. I honor progress that remains unseen. I release the need to prove struggle. I choose responsibility without punishment. I can pause before agreeing. I can speak before resentment grows. I respect the limits that protect my strength. I let support strengthen my agency. I can revise without shame. I can begin again with knowledge. I am building a dependable inner foundation. I remain present when discomfort rises. I do not confuse fear with truth. I do not confuse guilt with goodness. I can want more without rejecting today. I can appreciate today without abandoning growth. I welcome fair and honest exchange. I let praise arrive without reducing it. I accept care without creating an inner debt. I give from choice, not from fear. I can rest and return with clarity. I can prepare without predicting disaster. I can be cautious without becoming closed. I can be hopeful without denying reality. I am worthy of my own guidance. I speak to myself as someone worth teaching. I keep the promises that protect my dignity. I look again when more understanding is needed. I make one clear choice at a time. I strengthen trust through participation. I respect what the hidden work is building. I stand on what I have practiced. I carry calm into practical action. I welcome steadiness. I choose clarity. I remain teachable. I stay present. I ask. I learn. I adjust. I continue. I rise. Let the final words become smaller because the foundation beneath them is larger. The page does not need to explain everything now. It has already recorded the direction. Your hand has already traced the path. Your attention has already remained longer than it once did. The old route may still exist, It is no longer the only route. The new one has been measured. It has been corrected. It has been strengthened through return. You may not see the finished surface yet. You can feel that the ground is holding differently. That is enough evidence for the next steady step. The strongest part of the road is the part you no longer have to think about with every step. You simply walk. The surface holds. The direction remains clear. Your body does not brace for every uneven place because the groundwork has learned how to carry you. This is what the daily practice has been preparing. Not a life without uncertainty, not a mind without questions, a steadier way of moving when questions arise. You have been placing language beneath your choices. You have been correcting the grade beneath old reactions. You have been giving your attention a path that does not always fall toward shame. The work may still be new. It is already becoming usable. A sentence becomes usable when it meets a real moment. You feel the urge to delay something important. The sentence reminds you that you can begin before certainty is complete. You feel embarrassed by what you do not know. The sentence reminds you that learning does not reduce your dignity. You feel pressure to agree too quickly. The sentence reminds you that time can be part of a responsible answer. You feel guilt after meeting a reasonable need. The sentence reminds you that punishment is not the price of care. You feel tempted to erase your effort because the result is not visible yet. The sentence reminds you that no one photographs the weeks of leveling. This is how the page follows you into the day, not as a set of words you must keep repeating aloud, as a direction that becomes easier to remember. The repetition has already done its quiet work. It has made another response familiar. It has given the mind a place to return when the oldest conclusion appears first. You may still hear, "You are too late." Another voice can answer, "I am here now." You may still hear, "You should have known." Another voice can answer, "I can learn now." You may still hear, "Do not ask." Another voice can answer, "A clear question is part of preparation." You may still hear, "One mistake has ruined everything." Another voice can answer, "I will study what happened and repair what I can." This is not an argument that must exhaust you. The newer voice does not have to defeat every old thought in one day. It only has to remain. The path becomes stronger through use. Each time you choose a measured response, you travel the new grade. Each time you return after avoidance, you press the foundation more firmly into place. Each time you speak without unnecessary apology, you show the mind that clarity can be survived. Each time you accept guidance without turning against yourself, you show the mind that support can coexist with agency. The path is no longer an idea. You are walking it. That does not mean every choice will feel calm. Some decisions carry real weight. Some facts will be difficult. Some outcomes will disappoint you. Some seasons will require more patience than you wanted to give. A strong inner foundation is not measured by whether life remains easy. It is measured by whether you remain available to yourself when life is not easy. Can you stay present? Can you ask what is true? Can you separate information from accusation? Can you seek appropriate help? Can you take the next responsible step without demanding that it solve the entire road? These are forms of self-belief. They are quieter than confidence performed for an audience. They are more dependable. A performance needs a certain result. A relationship can survive mixed results. You are building a relationship with yourself that can carry revision. You can say, I need to change direction. You can say, I misunderstood this. You can say, the plan no longer fits. You can say, I need more time. You can say, I need help. None of these sentences cancel your strength. They show that your strength is no longer trapped inside the need to appear flawless. A road that cannot be repaired is not strong. A person who cannot revise is not secure. Security includes the capacity to respond. You can respond. You can gather. You can compare. You can decide. You can reconsider. You can learn. You can continue. The daily page gives these abilities a lasting record. When doubt tells you that nothing is changing, the record can answer. Not with exaggeration, with evidence. You asked, you reviewed, you declined, you rested, you returned, you corrected, you told the truth, you made a thoughtful choice. You let one compliment remain whole. You stopped explaining after the boundary was clear. You opened what you had avoided. You admitted that a problem deserved support. You accepted that a desire could be real without becoming an emergency. You let a need exist without putting your character on trial. The evidence may look ordinary. Strong foundations are often ordinary. Their purpose is not to look dramatic. Their purpose is to hold. Let your daily evidence be enough to hold the next sentence. I strengthen trust, Ben. With each steady step, the sentence is still yours on the day you feel confident. It is still yours on the day you feel uncertain. It is still yours after a wise decision. It is still yours after a choice you need to repair. It does not describe perfection. It describes the way you are choosing to build. The word strengthen matters. Strengthening is active. It allows for change. It does not pretend that the work was already complete. The word trust matters. Trust is not blind certainty. It is the willingness to remain in partnership with yourself. The word beneath matters. It honors what may not be visible. It recognizes that the surface is supported by work others may never see. The word each matters. It protects the value of a single action. You do not need every step at once. The word steady matters. It does not say fast. It does not say impressive. It says considered, honest, and able to continue. The word step matters. A step is movement. It is not a fantasy about movement. It is what you can do now. Let the meaning deepen through your actions. The daily page is not asking you to become fascinated with the sentence itself. It is asking you to live near it. You place on the page that you can ask clear questions. Then you prepare one. You place on the page that you can meet facts with calm attention. Then you look at what is actually present. You place on the page that you make room for guidance. Then you contact someone qualified. You place on the page that you respect unseen progress. Then you stop dismissing the responsible choice no one applauded. You place on the page that you can learn without shame. Then you stay with the lesson long enough to use it. This is how the road receives its surface. The groundwork and the visible path meet. Inner language and outer action begin carrying the same direction. There is less friction between what you say you value and what you permit yourself to do. You value clarity, so you ask. You value dignity, so you stop using humiliation as discipline. You value responsibility, so you look at the facts. You value balance, so you stop calling exhaustion the only proof of effort. You value fairness, so you make the agreement clearer. You value growth, so you remain teachable. The road becomes smoother because the foundation and the surface agree. This agreement may create a new kind of quiet. You no longer have to debate every reasonable act of care. You no longer have to turn every request into a confession. You no longer have to rehearse a defense before stating a need. You no longer have to make the worst prediction first in order to feel prepared. There may still be moments when these patterns return. You can meet them without surrender. An old rut does not become the whole road because one wheel touches it. You correct your course. I'll return to the center. You continue. A difficult day does not erase the grade. A missed page does not remove the foundation. A fearful choice does not cancel the choices made with care. Look at the whole stretch. Look at the pattern over time. You are becoming more willing to remain. You are becoming more able to speak. You are becoming less available for the inner punishment that once followed every imperfect moment. You are becoming clearer about where practical help belongs. You are becoming more respectful of sequence. Not everything has to be solved today. Something can still be addressed today. This distinction protects you from overwhelm. Overwhelm looks at the whole unfinished road and declares movement impossible. Steadiness looks at the next section of ground. What needs attention here? What can be measured here? What can be strengthened here? What can be completed before the next part begins? You can ask the same questions of your life. What is the next clear task? What information is missing? What decision can wait? What needs a direct answer? What support is appropriate? What action would reduce confusion? Let the question become smaller than the fear. Let the next step become clearer than the imagined distance. You do not have to carry the entire future in one decision. You are responsible for the choice before you and the care with which you make it. This is enough work for one moment. A durable habit also needs a shape that can survive ordinary life. It cannot depend on a perfect desk, a silent room, a new notebook, or a certain emotional state. Those things can be pleasant. They are not the foundation. The foundation is the decision to meet yourself honestly. You may use a full page when there is space. You may use 7 lines when the day is crowded. You may place one sentence at the top and return to it after taking practical action. The form can change while the purpose remains. This protects the practice from becoming another place where perfection delays participation. You do not need beautiful handwriting. You do not need eloquence. You do not need to create language that would impress another person. The page is not a performance surface. It is working ground. Some entries may look uneven. Some may contain crossed out words. Some may end before you expected. Some may reveal that the sentence you chose is not the sentence you need. That discovery is part of the preparation. You can begin with, I trust my decisions, and realize that the stronger truth is, I am willing to stay present while I decide. You can begin with, I accept support, and realize that you first need, I am learning to recognize support that respects my agency. You can begin with, I value my work, and realize that the next honest line is, I am practicing how to speak about my contribution without reducing it. The page can change direction because you are listening. Listening is not weakness in the structure. It is measurement. The habit strengthens self-belief when it proves that your voice will not be ignored, even by you. That does not mean every feeling becomes a decision. It means every feeling can be heard before wisdom decides what to do with it. A feeling may say, I am afraid. Wisdom may answer, let us gather more information. A feeling may say, I am tired. Wisdom may answer, let us distinguish needed rest from avoidance. A feeling may say, I want this. Wisdom may answer, let us understand the cost, the timing, and the reason. A feeling may say, I cannot bear another no. Wisdom may answer, let us prepare the request and remember that the answer will not define us. This inner exchange is part of the smoother road. You are no longer required to silence emotion or surrender to it. You can listen and lead. That is a form of authority that does not need harshness. It has room for uncertainty. It has room for facts. It has room for practical limits. It has room for hope. Over time, the daily page may become less about repairing the oldest sentence and more about strengthening a new standard. At first, the page may help stop the inner attack. Later, it may help clarify a choice. Later still, it may help you recognize a direction that is already becoming natural. The habit grows with you. It does not need to keep you forever at the point where you began. A road prepared for greater use is not meant to remain a construction site. There comes a time when you travel. You still maintain the surface. You still respond when a weak place appears. You do not keep tearing up stable ground because struggle feels more familiar than movement. this matters. Healing can become another delay when you believe you must resolve every old fear before you are permitted to act. You do not have to complete every inner correction before making a thoughtful choice. The purpose of preparation is movement. Use what has become strong. Trust the part of you that now asks better questions. Trust the part that recognizes when guilt is speaking too quickly. Trust the part that can seek guidance without disappearing into another person's opinion. Trust the part that knows a slower answer can be a wiser answer. Self-belief grows when you let your developing capacity participate. You may still check the grade, then you step. You may still feel the old alarm, then you choose. You may still want reassurance, then you look for evidence and appropriate support rather than demanding certainty from yourself. The practice is not asking you to become your only source of knowledge. It is helping you become a trustworthy participant in your own decisions. You can listen to expertise. You can consider another perspective. You can change your mind. You can also remain present enough to understand what you are agreeing to. This is mature trust. It is neither rigid independence nor unquestioning dependence. It is cooperation with reality. The page can help you prepare one clear intention for the day. Not a prediction, not a demand, an intention. Today I will remain present before I react. Today I will ask for the information I need. Today I will treat one practical task as an act of self-respect. Today I will let a reasonable no remain complete. Today I will accept one form of support without creating a story of weakness around it. At the end of the day, you can record what happened without grading your humanity. Did the intention help? Where did the old root appear? What supported a steadier response? What needs another pass? This review closes the distance between language and lived experience. It shows the mind that the page is not filled with wishes alone. It is connected to observation, connected to choice, connected to learning. The record becomes more credible because it includes mixed days. A page that admits difficulty can still show movement. I avoided the task until afternoon, then I began. I agreed too quickly, then I returned and clarified. I criticized myself, then I changed the tone and reviewed the facts. I felt guilty for resting, then I remembered why rest was needed. These are not failed entries. They show recovery. Recovery is one of the strongest forms of evidence you can collect. It proves that the old response does not have to control the whole day. It proves that a moment of disconnection can be followed by return. It proves that self-trust is not fragile enough to be destroyed by one imperfect hour. The path can hold a turn. It can hold a stop. It can hold a careful correction. Then it continues. The daily page can close with that understanding. Not everything. This step, not perfect certainty, enough clarity, not a guaranteed result, an honest direction. The calmer you become with this scale, the less likely you are to use urgency as a measure of importance. Important things can be approached steadily. You can take time to understand. You can ask for a second explanation. You can review your own reaction. You can let emotions settle enough for the facts to become distinct. This does not mean endless delay. It means the pace serves the decision rather than the fear. Some choices require speed. Even then, you can use the strongest available sentence. I will not abandon myself while I respond. That sentence may be enough to bring your attention back. You may not have time for a full page. The groundwork remains. You have practiced. You know where to place your feet. This is why the habit matters. It prepares before the demanding moment arrives. It cannot predict every condition. It can strengthen the way you meet conditions. The road cannot choose the weather. It can be built with weather in mind. You cannot control every circumstance. You can develop a steadier relationship with your own response. That relationship will influence the questions you ask, the help you seek, the risks you examine, the boundaries you state, and the repairs you make. It will not control everything outside you. It can reduce the number of times you leave yourself alone inside what is happening. That is not small. For many people, the deepest fear is not only that something difficult will occur, it is that they will be unable to meet it. Each steady act gives a different answer. I met this. I asked for help with this. I learned through this. I changed direction here. I recovered from that. I did not do it perfectly. I did not disappear. This is the evidence beneath self-belief. You do not have to convince yourself that you can handle every possible future. You can remember that you have handled real moments through presence, learning, support, and adjustment. You can remember that your capacity is not fixed. You can remember that asking is part of capacity. You can remember that rest protects capacity. You can remember that truth strengthens capacity. You can remember that shame often weakens the very attention you need. The page becomes less about creating a new personality and more about revealing the steadiness already being practiced. You are not inventing worth. You are stopping the habits that hide it. You are not manufacturing dignity. You are refusing to bargain it away. You are not pretending to know everything. You are treating yourself as someone capable of learning. This is a quieter kind of prosperity. It is the prosperity of inner room. Room to think. Room to ask. Room to revise. Room to accept support. Room to make a choice without turning the choice into a verdict on your entire life. This inner room can help you make practical decisions with greater care. It can help you hear advice without losing your judgment. It can help you consider opportunity without using excitement as the only evidence. It can help you consider caution without using fear as the final answer. It can help you remain grounded when another person is impatient. It can help you say, "I need to understand this before I agree." That sentence is not a delay of your life. It is part of building a life you can stand inside. There is another reason to keep the practice close to ordinary action. Self-belief becomes trustworthy when it can live beside limits. It is easy to feel powerful inside a sentence that asks nothing of you. The deeper test comes when the sentence meets a boundary, a delay, an answer you did not want, or a fact that requires adjustment. You may state your value and still hear no. You may prepare carefully and still need more time. You may ask for support and discover that the first person cannot provide it. You may make a thoughtful decision and later learn a thing that changes your view. These moments do not prove that the practice failed. They show whether the foundation can carry reality without cracking into self-contempt. A strong sentence does not promise control over another person. It helps you keep your footing while another person chooses. It does not promise that preparation removes every obstacle. It helps you respond to the obstacle without declaring the whole road impossible. It does not promise that your judgment will never require revision. It helps you revise while preserving your capacity to judge again. This is a more mature form of trust. It has room for results you did not design. It has room for disappointment. It has room for a responsible no. It has room for waiting that is based on facts rather than fear. It has room for another route when the first route is no longer sound. The path is not made dependable by insisting that it continue in one direction regardless of the ground. Sometimes, careful preparation reveals that the route itself should change. You may discover that a goal was shaped more by comparison than by desire. You may discover that an opportunity asks for a cost you are not willing to pay. You may discover that a working arrangement depends on your silence. You may discover that a plan belongs to an earlier version of your life. Changing direction can be an expression of self-belief. You trust yourself enough to admit what no longer fits. You trust yourself enough to stop investing effort merely because effort has already been spent. You trust yourself enough to distinguish persistence from self-abandonment. Persistence says the purpose still matters and the next step remains aligned. Self-abandonment says you must continue because stopping would expose you to judgment. The page can help you hear the difference. Set down the facts without defending them. This is what the path requires. This is what I can currently sustain. This is what I would have to ignore in order to continue. This is what still feels aligned. This is what has changed. Then let the present tense return. I am willing to choose from what is true now. This sentence does not shame the plan you once made. It respects the information now available. The person who chose before was working with what they knew. The person choosing now knows more. Both deserve respect. This is how a daily habit can strengthen decision-making without pretending to make decisions for you. It creates a meeting place where evidence, emotion, values, and practical limits can be considered together. You may still need professional advice. You may still need more data. You may still need a conversation with the people affected. The page helps you arrive at those next steps with clearer questions. Clarity is valuable even when the answer remains uncertain. You can know what matters before you know what will happen. You can know what you will not trade away. You can know what information is missing. You can know which part is yours to address. You can know when the pressure to decide is not the same as a true deadline. These forms of clarity strengthen the road. They reduce the places where panic pushes you toward the easiest immediate exit. The easiest immediate exit is not always relief. Sometimes it is an agreement you regret. Sometimes it is silence that becomes resentment. Sometimes it is a purchase meant to soften an emotion that still needs care. Sometimes it is refusing a useful opportunity because visibility feels unsafe. Sometimes it is saying yes to preserve approval and losing energy needed for what truly matters. A daily page can interrupt the exit. It gives you a small stretch of ground on which to stop. What am I trying to escape? What am I trying to protect? What fact am I avoiding? What would a respectful response look like? What choice will I still understand tomorrow? These questions do not guarantee a perfect answer. They can improve the quality of your participation. That is the promise the practice can honestly make. It can support attention. It can support reflection. It can support a more respectful inner climate. It can support the courage to seek real assistance. It can support consistent action after the emotional rush has passed. It cannot make every external condition favorable. It should not be asked to. The value of the road is not that it changes the destination into whatever you prefer. The value is that it gives you a sounder way to travel. You can carry this understanding into work. You may have learned to prove your value by being endlessly available. You answer quickly. You take on the unclear task. You absorb changes without discussing the effect. You fix what others overlook and hope that the pattern will eventually be recognized. The effort may be real. The strategy may still leave your contribution invisible. The page can help you prepare a clearer route. I am willing to make my work visible through honest communication. Then you record what was completed. I can ask how responsibility will be recognized. Then you prepare the question. I can define what is included before giving more. Then you clarify the agreement. This is not arrogance. It is road marking. It helps people understand where the path begins, where it leads, and what it is designed to carry. Clarity can prevent confusion that no amount of silent effort will solve. You can also carry the practice into learning. Old shame may tell you that asking a basic question will expose you. Present tense trust says you are already participating by asking. You do not need to disguise your current level. You need access to the next useful explanation. The person who asks may learn faster than the person who protects an image. The person who admits confusion may prevent a costly mistake. The person who seeks instruction may become able to guide others later. Your question is not a crack in the foundation. It can be part of strengthening it. You can carry the practice into rest. You may have treated rest as empty ground where nothing useful happens. Then you pushed until your attention became uneven. You made rushed choices. You missed details. You became more reactive. You called the consequences proof that you should work harder. A better grade may include recovery, not endless avoidance, not denial of responsibility. Recovery that protects attention. You can place on the page, "I respect the conditions that help me think clearly." Then you act on the sentence in a way that fits your real life. You take the break available. You set a stopping point. You return after sleeping enough. You reduce an unnecessary demand. You ask whether the pace can be maintained. The goal is not comfort at every moment. The goal is a road that can continue carrying use. A path destroyed by constant overload does not prove its strength. Your capacity is not honored by exhausting it beyond repair. You can carry the practice into receiving praise. When someone recognizes your work, the old reflex may search for a flaw to restore familiar balance. You say it was nothing. You list the help you received as though support cancels contribution. You point toward what remains unfinished. You move away from the moment before appreciation can settle. Try a different response. "Thank you. I worked carefully on that." The sentence is plain. It does not claim sole credit for everything. It does not erase your effort. It lets the surface hold the weight of acknowledgement. This may feel exposed at first. Stay with the simplicity. You do not need to add a defense. You can carry the practice into giving. When you give from fear, the gift may contain a hidden request. Please keep me safe. Please do not be disappointed. Please remember that I was useful. Please choose me later. These needs are human. A gift cannot always meet them. The page can help you decide whether the giving is free. I am giving because I choose to contribute, or I am giving because I am afraid to say no. The answer may be mixed. Let honesty guide the amount, the timing, and the boundary. Generosity becomes cleaner when it does not require you to disappear. It becomes more sustainable when it comes from capacity. It becomes easier to receive in return when you are no longer using giving to prove that you should need nothing. The road supports movement in both directions. Contribution can move outward. Support can move toward you. Fair exchange can pass without guilt blocking one side. This balance is not calculated perfectly every day. It is practiced. You can carry the practice into comparison. Another person may seem to be moving faster. You see the finished surface of their present chapter. You do not know the full grade beneath it. You also do not know what weight their road is designed to carry. Comparison removes context. Your page can restore it. What am I building? What does my life require? What pace can I sustain? What hidden work has already been completed? What is the next section that belongs to me? These questions return your attention to your own preparation. You can admire another path without abandoning yours. You can learn from another person without copying conditions that do not match your life. You can let someone else's progress expand possibility without using it to reduce your worth. The road beneath you has its own measurements. Respect them. There is no prize for paving over ground that was not ready. There is no wisdom in rushing a foundation because someone else has reached a visible milestone. Move with honest urgency when urgency is real. Move with patient consistency when patience serves the work. The practice helps you tell the difference. You can carry it into setbacks. A setback can reveal a weak place. It can also reveal that the path carried far more than it once could. Do not look only at where you struggled. Look at how you responded. Did you ask sooner? Did you recover faster? Did you use less cruelty? Did you accept support? Did you preserve one useful routine? Did you avoid turning the setback into a total identity? This is progress inside difficulty. It deserves to be recorded. The page should not become a record only of ideal days. Let it hold the days when the road was tested. Today was difficult and I stayed honest. Today I needed help and I asked. Today I lost confidence and I did not abandon the task. Today I changed the plan and the change protected what mattered. Today I felt guilt and I chose discernment. These lines build a realistic history of your capacity. When another difficult day comes, you have evidence that difficulty and self-respect can exist together. That evidence is stronger than a promise that difficulty will never return. It tells the truth. You have met uneven ground before. You have learned to prepare. You have learned to adjust. You have learned that a slower pace can still be movement. You have learned that a corrected route can still lead forward. You have learned that the hidden weeks matter. Let these lessons become available without turning them into another demand to perform strength. You do not have to be composed at all times. You do not have to respond perfectly. You do not have to transform pain into a lesson before you have felt it. The foundation includes room for human reaction. You can be upset. You can be tired. You can be disappointed. Then when you are able, you can return to the page and ask what support the next section needs. This can be enough. You are not proving invulnerability. You are practicing return. The earlier lines have already done their work. Let them settle into the groundwork instead of adding another layer of performance. You do not need an endless collection of statements. You need a small group of honest words that remain available when a real decision asks for them. Carry the phrases that met you most clearly. Keep the one that helped you face a fact. Keep the one that softened shame enough for learning to continue. Keep the one that reminded you to ask for guidance. Keep the one that protected a reasonable limit. The rest can remain on the page until another day gives them meaning. A practice becomes personal through selection. You discover which language steadies you under pressure. You discover which sentence helps you return after avoidance. You discover which words support action rather than fantasy. That discovery is part of the hidden preparation. The goal is not to remember every line. The goal is to recognize the direction toward presence, toward clarity, toward honest support, toward responsible action, toward dignity that remains intact while you learn. Let the language become lighter now, not weaker, more familiar. The words no longer need to stand in a long row before you. They can travel with you quietly, ready when the day reveals where the ground still needs care. Take the sentence that belongs to today. Let it guide one practical choice. Then let the choice become evidence. This is how the page leaves the page. This is how preparation becomes movement. This is how the road begins to carry you without asking for constant attention. Take these final words back to the page when you need them. Do not measure the habit by whether every line creates a strong feeling. Measure it by whether the practice helps you remain available for the life in front of you. A useful sentence may feel almost ordinary after enough repetition. That is not a loss of power. It may mean the words are becoming part of the surface beneath your steps. You no longer stop to admire every section of road that carries you. You trust it because it has held before. Your sentence can become that familiar. It can wait quietly in the mind. It can meet you at the edge of a decision. It can steady you after a difficult result. It can remind you that the groundwork is still present even when the day has been uneven. You can return to the full dictation when the old story feels loud. You can return to one line when time is brief. You can return to evidence when discouragement claims that nothing has changed. You can return to the next step when the whole distance feels too large. The practice remains flexible because your life is real. Some days you will need reflection. Some days you will need action. Some days you will need qualified guidance. Some days you will need rest before judgment becomes clear. The page should support wisdom, no, to become another demand. Use it in service of truth. Use it in service of dignity. Use it in service of practical care. Let it help you become more available to the facts, not less. Let it help you ask for support, not replace support. Let it help you prepare for action, not hide from action. Let it help you hear your own voice, not silence every other informed perspective. This balance keeps the road sound. The affirmation walks beside the plan. The plan responds to the facts. The facts are met by a person who is no longer required to hate themselves in order to take responsibility. That person is you, not in a distant future. Now in practice. Now in the return. Now in the sentence you choose before the old verdict hardens. Now in the question you ask. Now in the limit you honor. Now in the support you accept. Now in the repair you make. The tense that works is the tense that places you inside your own life. I learn in the present. I am choosing. I am strengthening. I am becoming. These words do not trap you in a fixed claim. They keep you in relationship with movement. They make room for the unfinished road. They honor the work beneath the paving. They let you stand in the present without pretending the future is already complete. Let this be enough. You do not need to call the change sudden. You know better. You know the measurements. You know the corrections. You know the blank days and the returned days. You know the sentences that felt difficult before they felt natural. You know the private choices that changed the grade. You know the fear you faced without giving it the final word. You know the support you finally accepted. You know the apology you stopped offering for a reasonable need. You know the agreement you clarified. You know the lesson you kept without keeping the shame. You know the groundwork. Let that knowledge become respect. Respect the person who returned. Respect the person who learned. Respect the person who took action while confidence was still forming. Respect the person who stopped waiting for a perfect inner state. Respect the person who chose a present step. This respect is not pride without perspective. It is accurate acknowledgement. You have been participating. The road is different because of it. The path within you has been graded with care. The low places are better understood. The soft places are being strengthened. The direction is clearer. The surface can now carry more honest movement. You do not need to run. You do not need to impress anyone with the distance. Walk in the way you have practiced, measured, present, teachable, dignified. Let the first step be the one that belongs to today. Let the next step arrive when you reach it. Let the page remain a place where your own voice becomes trustworthy through truth. Let action remain the companion of affirmation. Let guidance remain welcome. Let guilt lose its old authority. Let the hidden work count. The road does not appear suddenly to you. You remember how it was built. Carry that memory with tenderness. Carry it with discipline. Carry it without needing to turn it into struggle. You are allowed to move on a smoother surface after learning from rough ground. You are allowed to let preparation become support. You are allowed to stop reopening every corrected place just to prove the work was real. Trust what has been strengthened. Maintain what matters. Repair what needs repair. Keep moving. The vow is simple. I rise, keeping faith with hidden groundwork. Keep rising. Life is with you. The road within you is ready for daylight.